Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. So today I will be reading my Mills and Boon romance, Boss's Christmas Baby Acquisition. I wanted to read that and make sure I had it right because that's a bit of a mouthful for a title. Written by Danny Collins. It's a modern romance, it's a sexy romance. So I did get up to chapter 5 in my last video about this book. So I'm going to be reading it and giving you the rundown of this book and what I think of it. Okay, so I'm just at the end of chapter 5 and I just have to read you this line. "There's something I wished I'd done before you left my room that night," he said, with a hard set to his jaw. "What's that?" she asked, lifting her gaze with surprise. "I should have said goodbye properly." His hand arrived at her waist and the other cradled the side of her neck, dragging her close. Time turned to gelatin, making each movement slow and deliberate and profound. Time turned to gelatin. That's never ever heard time described like that before. Anyway, so we got to chapter 5 and Joaquin and Saban, whatever her name is, were both at her apartment. I think it was her apartment. And he's come in, he's brought dinner, and they're having a chat because if you watched my previous video on this book, they'd had some time together, they hooked up basically, and then she went to her new job, and then lo and behold, she finds out that he is her boss, and then he's like, well, I need to fire you now, and then she's like, you can't do that, and so he's gone to her house to try and sort it all out, and he's told her that his father has been trying to marry his dead brother's wife because she's got money and his father's in debt and they own a big family business, and the girl Saban is she's like hot for this guy. That's what I got out of chapter 5. No, she's trying to listen to all of his problems while containing herself. And yeah, basically she's like, don't fire me, like I'll keep out of your hair and everything. And he's like, if my dad finds out that we were together, he will target you. And then she's like, just keep me on and you know, I won't say anything. And so he finally decides that, okay, she can stay. And then she's like relieved, and then she's like, oh, but now I can't really talk to him or interact with him, but at least I get to keep my job. And then just as he's about to walk out the door, he's grabbing her for a kiss. So that's basically what has happened in chapter 5. Okay, so they had a kiss, but now he's gone out the door and she doesn't know what's going to happen next. And I'm up to chapter 6 and I've decided I'm going to read up to chapter 10. Well, I'm going to read up to chapter 11. So I'm going to read chapter 10. So now I'm about to read chapter 6. Okay, so I'm partway through chapter 6, at the end of chapter 6, and most of the chapter 6 was pretty boring. It was just about business acquisitions and all that sort of stuff. Like, it was just about what was happening in the office, and then Joaquin offered his dad, like, something to, like, get rid of him, basically, and the dad was like, that's not enough, and he's like, you take that or leave it. And then the lady who is Saban's like, who she, like, oh, I can't think, like, she's her boss, but then Joaquin's her boss, you know what I mean? Like, so the lady is the head of the secretaries or whatever, I can't think what you call it, but she's then gone to Joaquin and said, hey, what's going on between you two? I can, you know, are you dating or something? Is something going on? I thought that we're not meant to have, you know, dating between co-workers and stuff. And he's just denied it, pretended, you know, trying to pretend that they didn't hook up. He's like really like difficult and cranky and, you know, didn't happen, just that type of guy. But anyway, we get to the end of chapter 6 and Saban has been given something to give to Jacqueline, and she's raced to catch him, giving him this envelope or whatever it is, and then she's sort of fallen forward and sort of gotten a bit dizzy, and of course our hero has caught the damsel and he's like, are you okay? And then I'll read you this bit of the book. Are you all right? No, she said reflexively. Yes, I'm not sure, just a little dizzy. I think I caught a bug. Heat suffused her way his grip eased, but his hand stayed on her arm. She looked at it, wondering if he could feel the way her muscles were melting and her blood was turning to honey. He released her and his fingers rubbed into his palm. She adjusted her glasses and cleared her throat. I was with my sister's kids last weekend. I love them to death, but children are walking petri dishes. Reason number 1,000,000 why I never planned to have them. He shook the pages from the opened envelope. Really? That surprises me. He paused to lift his gaze, snagging hers without effort. She didn't know how to interpret that and quickly babbled. It's just that I read you were engaged last year. That suggests you were planning to start a family. Stalker much? Saban, this conversation is inappropriate. He used an uneven tone and he wasn't wrong, but she took his remark like a slap, one she deserved. So I thought that was a funny line. She's like just admitted to low-key stalking her boss. So I think we're about to find out that our heroine is pregnant. Okay, so chapter 6 has ended. She doesn't know she's pregnant yet. But I'll read you this bit. So they get into the elevator after their little exchange, and she's going to go home and rest. And he says to her, "You could make this easier," he said as the elevator descended. "Wear ugly clothes. Stop showering." They were both staring straight ahead. For a second, she wondered if she had heard him correctly. Then she thought about telling him that was inappropriate, but a tiny glow flickered to life in her chest and began to expand, warming her to her fingertips and toes. Every day she came to work anticipating her moments with him, and every day she felt tortured by him. Blah, 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 blah. And then as the elevator stopped on the floor, she said, "I'm probably carrying a deadly plague." The doors opened. "See, was that so hard?" he drawled. She spit back her pleased smile as she walked away. So we go. Now we're up to chapter 7. Okay. So I'm up to chapter 8 now. Geez, chapter 7 was a long chapter. Whew, it was a bit steamy. So chapter 7, basically, we get to finally hear Saban's backstory. Her brother-in-law comes to the firm where she's working, or comes to the place where she's working, and Joaquin gets jealous, and he's like, "Who is that?" And she ends up telling him her story, that she basically was part of this family that are really, really famous, and that's how she knows him. And her sister is married to his twin brother, and she changed her name to get away from them because she had dated somebody who had compromised the family and tried to sell, a story to the paparazzi or magazines or whatever. And so she changed her name, moved to Australia, and worked her way up to get this job that she's now got. So that's, that's her past. So I don't know what the previous books are like, but I guess it talks about those stories. But anyway, and then they have all this dialogue, all that happens, and then guess what? They start having sexy time again in the office, and then the boss is like, "We can't do this." And yeah, he's like, "We can't do this." And then so now she's upset, she's feeling embarrassed, she's humiliated because this guy keeps coming on to her, and then he pulls back, and then he comes on to her, and then he pulls back. Like, it's that real sort of tug of war, and are they going to get together, which we all know they will. But yeah, now we're up to chapter 8, and she still doesn't know she's pregnant, so it's got to be soon. I wonder how many chapters. I'll tell you how many chapters are in this book. There's an epilogue, apparently, but no prologue. Apparently, a lot of books now have epilogues, but they don't have prologues. I don't know why that is. Chapter 17. There's 17 chapters in this book, so I'm going to read 2 more chapters. Okay, so I've just gotten to the end of chapter 8, and we finally found out that Saban is pregnant. She's very stereotypically fainted at work, and then Joaquin has taken her to the doctors, and they've confirmed her pregnancy. And I always find it really weird that they always have this as a cliche. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed a cliche like on Home and Away, I think it was, maybe Days of Our Lives, like, I don't know, like just in soap operas and soapies and stuff, and even in books apparently, there's always this cliche that women pass out and then that's their first sign that they're pregnant. I've had 3 kids and I never ever had that. Like, my first sign was cravings and then nausea. I've never passed out in my life. I've been close to it. I felt like I wanted to pass out, but I've never actually passed out. So I don't know. Has anyone here ever passed out during pregnancy? Is it as common as TV and books make us think. I don't know. I don't know anyone who's passed out in pregnancy. Maybe one person, but yeah. Oh, so now now it's starting to heat up. So she found out she's pregnant and she's gone back to Joaquin's place because he wants to keep an eye on her and make sure she's okay. And they've discussed about what they're going to do, and she's going to keep the baby. And he said, well, I'm a father now and I'm going to be there for you, unlike my own father who wasn't there. And she said, well, I really need to go home. And he's like, no, you're going to move in with me. So he's going to take her home so she can take her contacts out and pack her things, and she's going to move in with Joaquin. So there you go. That relationship is heating up, but they barely even know each other. So that's an interesting dynamic. So I'm going to read chapter 10 and see where this is going. And so we've really got the main story of these two characters, and they don't really know each other, but now they've got to go through a pregnancy together. So I'm assuming that they're probably going to fall in love as they go through all the pregnancy stuff, and the book's going to end with the baby being born. But yeah, there's a bit of a background, sort of, not a huge background plot, but a slight background plot, you know, of the business with the dad like the dad's taking Joaquin to court, trying to get more of the business from him, but that's not really, you know, it's just a bit of a side plot. So I think Mills and Boon books, the main focus is on the romance, with just some background characters and things. And the only real consistent main background character we've really had is the other assistant, the one that is in charge of Saban. So anyway, I'm going to read chapter 10 and let you know how that goes. So I'm reading chapter 10 now, and Saban is not taking this very well. She does not want to move in with Joaquin. She's offended, she's pissed off, and she's like fighting him on it. And she says, you don't get to order me to quit my job and move in with you, she hissed. What are you, a vampire? You're invited. To be what? She challenged. Your house guest? Are we going from pretending not to be a couple to pretending to be a couple? So I thought that was funny. You know that movie, Don't Let Them In? You got to invite the vampires in. So I thought that was a funny reference. Okay, so it's heating up even more now. So now she's saying, you want me to just move in with you and sleep with you and have your baby and basically be your wife without a ring. And Joaquin has said, we can talk about marriage. I'm open to it. So there you go. The story is moving along quite quickly. Oh, this is so funny. I'm just at the end of chapter 10, and Joaquin and Saban just entered her apartment, and he's panicking and going, oh my god, somebody's ransacked your place. I'm gonna call the cops. And then she's like, actually, I left it like this. So she's been a slob. Oh, I thought that was funny. But basically, at the end of chapter 10, he's told her that he broke off his engagement with the last chick he was with because he's not built for that type of thing. He doesn't want to be vulnerable and fall in love with anybody, but he's promised to be a good partner to Saban and protect her and the baby. So that's not a very good proposal now, is it? So, but I think he will fall in love by the end of the book. I'm just going to read the last 2 pages of chapter 10. Okay, so I made it to the end of chapter 10. I only got 7 chapters to go. And at the end of chapter 10, because they've gotten into her apartment and she passed out that day and she's pregnant and feeling all the things, he said he would wrap all her Christmas gifts for her, and she's like, aww. So that is where we're up to with this story. So my next video, I'll probably do chapters 11 to 14 and then another video with the last 3 or 4 chapters. So far I'm enjoying it. It's a good book, and it's the first Mills and Boon book that I've read in years, and probably the only one that I've actually read from cover to cover. So I have skim read some other Mills and Boon's books in the past, and yes, I skimmed into the naughty bits just to see what was in there when I was younger. But yeah, but I would love to write for Mills and Boon one day, but who knows. But anyway, I'm going to keep reading these. I'm going to keep doing book reviews on Mills and Boon's and lots of other book reviews. And I've got some old Danielle Steele books as well that I got from the op shop ages ago, so I might even do those. But we'll see how many books I can get through over the summer. So I've managed to almost read this in a few days. So I'm going to set myself a goal. See how many. I'm not going to say a number, because if I say, oh, I'm going to read 20 books, something will happen and it won't happen. So I'm just going to see how many books I can read in the next 6 weeks over the summer holidays and see how we go. And then at the end, I will count them and I will rate them all from start to finish, ones I like the most to the ones I like the least. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.